Welcome to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Life presents experiences that add layers to who we are and how we see the world, affecting how we communicate. Lydia is here to take apart the layers and create new ways to connect and build relationships. So now, please welcome the host of Layers of Communication, your core boss, Lydia Taggart.
Hi, welcome to Layers of Communication. You're listening on TuneIn Radio and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and we would love to have your calls if you want to join our conversation. The number to call in is 1-866-451-1451. Now, today, we are going to talk about procrastination. If you haven't had an issue with procrastination, you've dealt with somebody, guaranteed that there is somebody in your life that has an issue with procrastination. So I'm going to share a really personal, humiliating story today. And just so you're not worried about my family or anything, getting too embarrassed or whatever like that, I was thinking about this morning. I thought, I've got to share this story. And I told my husband, boy, you are so brave to be married to me. And he's like, I'm brave? And I said, yeah, because I'm going on the radio and I'm going to tell all of anybody who wants to hear these crazy, humiliating stories. And you never know what they're going to be. And he said, embarrassment is only a bad thing if we let it be. If we're still stuck in that layer of emotions and we haven't grown from it, then it's a problem. And he never even asked what the story was. Isn't that great? He's such a good man. So here's my humiliating story that is not really humiliating anymore because I have grown so much since then. Way back when I was in sixth grade, I was about 12 or so years old. Growing up, my mom worked, and we're a blended family. So my stepdad worked during the day and my mom worked at night, or vice versa. It changed. It was always somebody was working. And one of them would pick us up from school and we'd drive out to where they were working, and we'd sit in the parking lot and wait for the other parent to come out, and they would trade. They worked at the same place. That's where they met. So that was convenient for them, right? And then I'd go home. We'd all just sit in the car and wait for the parent switch. So it was kind of crazy busy, and doing laundry, it was like this transition time that I was supposed to be in charge of my own laundry, right? And I procrastinated it. Didn't care about laundry, was not a high priority for me at all. And I think that's one of the keys to procrastination is it a high priority? Does it really matter to us? And there's so many little things that we procrastinate, right? Well, this day I had procrastinated doing my laundry so much that I was going to be late to school and I had nothing clean to wear. I had no idea what I was going to do. I looked at the clock and went, I'm late already. And so I just grabbed some random thing out of the dirty laundry pile, went to school with this wrinkled, dirty outfit. And I thought, well, whatever. I'm at school. Who cares really? And maybe nobody will notice because I'll sit on it and stretch it out and it won't really know. They won't really know that it's all that wrinkled and dirty because I'll be sitting on it, right? Well, a little while after I was at school, like after recess, I noticed people were pointing at me. They're pointing and laughing. And I started getting a little bit self-conscious. I was like, they've noticed that I have wrinkled pants. And it wasn't that. It was, I had something else on my pants. It did not belong there. I don't know how it happened. Doesn't even matter. I pulled it out of the dirty laundry. There was this great big smear of a dried on crusty booger on my butt. And they were pointing at me and laughing because I had this booger on my butt. And I got closer to the people who were laughing, and they were chanting, booger butt, ha, ha, and laughing at me because I had procrastinated doing an essential thing that didn't really seem that important at the time. And that, my friends, is my first experience with the consequences that come from procrastinating. And I was about 12 years old. So I'm sure you guys are all laughing because it was really funny now to think back at this booger butt thing and how it has affected my life. Is our experiences affect everything after that experience, right? Laundry is much more important to me now. But in that moment, it was just shame and humiliation and embarrassment. I wanted to crawl under a rock. Have you ever felt that way? And now it's just really hilarious. So, what do we do about this? How do we switch from not caring? Do we really have to have this kind of booger butt experience to make us care about putting something into a higher priority? I think there's other ways. We don't have to do this humiliating experience to get where we want to go. One of the things that I like to share with my clients that gets really great results is a procrastination list. We write down all of the things that we've been procrastinating, and you don't have to think very hard, I'm sure, to figure out at least 5 or 6 things that you've been procrastinating. Some of the things that we procrastinate in our house is still an issue, right? Because we're still human. We procrastinate doing homework. Oh my goodness, we do not want to do homework, especially if there's like sunshine outside or a friend knocking on the door or calling or texting, or even spending some time on Facebook sometimes is a lot more fun than doing homework, that dreaded homework. I don't think I'll ever hear the end of how much my son, who is 15, he's almost 15, it's his birthday coming up. He hates this one class, and he makes sure we know about it every single day. And this morning, he got up early, but not as early as he wanted to. He was going to finish it before going to school instead of doing it over the weekend. And because we procrastinated, we're in such a rush and going crazy, and we can't think clearly when we're in a rush like that, right? Hence the booger butt thing. I didn't think clearly, didn't check it out very well. And this is a common thing with all of our experiences. When we procrastinate, we get into this dreaded rush mentality. And he went to school and left his homework that he was so hurried and worried about. He left it sitting on the table, didn't even take it. Oh, I can't even tell you how unexcited I am to see him after school today and hear how horrible that was. Because it's the last day of the term, or there's 4 days left technically, but the teachers don't want to have all the school assignments done on the last day turned in and have to get their grades out and everything. Anyway, we have results from procrastinating. Sometimes they're embarrassing. Sometimes they make us really angry. Like my son, his homework is not going to make him embarrassed, it's going to make him angry, or he's going to choose to be angry about it, really. But these emotions, they come. And I've said before, I'll say again, feelings are meant to be felt. Make sure you allow those experiences to come and have that emotion. Just don't get stuck in it. Move through that layer so you can get onto the other side. So, making a list, back to the procrastination list. If you list out 5, 6 things that you've been procrastinating, and they don't have to be huge projects, just anything. Like I procrastinate checking my email sometimes because it's ominous. I mean, I have so much to look through. Or even going to get the mail. I know a lot of people who procrastinate going to get the mail because there's going to be a bill in there, or maybe a letter from somebody they don't. It's just something that's not looked forward to. It's not enjoyed and loved. So we take this list, and if you check off one thing that you've been procrastinating, one part of action, then you start building an accomplishment energy that can just pull you through the rest. So you start with a small thing and check it off, and you really make a list so you can see your progress and check it off. So that's one tip I have for you. Today we're going to be visiting with Annette Pieper. She is an expert in business and procrastinating. She's going to help us. We're going to invite her in after the break, so stay tuned. We're going to go take that break now. You're listening to Tune In Radio. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and this is Layers of Communication on the BBM Global Network. Welcome back to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and you're listening on the BBM Global Network and Tune In Radio. If you'd like to join our conversation today, you can call in at 1-866-451-1451, and you can also find us at lydiataggart.com. And today, we're talking about procrastination. I'm going to introduce you to our guest. I love this topic of procrastination, and Annette Pieper has some wonderful wisdom to share with us. I'm so excited. She is a business growth expert, author, coach, corporate trainer, and speaker. She is president of the high-impact success training firm, Vision to Reality Training. Annette has over 20 years of coaching, consulting, and training expertise. She is the author of an upcoming book. It's going to be called Conquering Success Mountain. She is a co-author of the best-selling book Step Into Your Vision. She has helped thousands of people across the globe through her powerful programs. Annette's passion lies in creating a powerful environment for her clients to transform in business while simultaneously creating greater harmony in all areas of life. Annette fosters a whole life approach to success as she weaves business growth strategies and personal development into her speaking, coaching, and training programs. So welcome, Annette. We're so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, good. So what brought you into this field of being a business growth expert? How did you get here?
You know, it started with my own transformation process. This is my second business. My first one was a lifestyle and fitness coaching business. And I just found through my own transformation, I went through a crisis in my life, which led me to seeking out ways to make some changes in my life. And that's what got me involved in the personal development end of things. And it was just through that I started coaching people. It just kind of came naturally. And then from there, I ended up taking a job with a company doing business coaching for about 3 years. So it was just a natural transition to go from doing the lifestyle and fitness coaching and hypnosis and personal development work into business coaching, because I'd already been doing it for 3 years. So I left the company and started a new business.
Oh, fantastic. Are there myths about procrastination?
You know, I don't know if there's myths about it, but I know there are a lot of different tools that people use to overcome procrastination. You know, I think maybe the myth is that not everybody procrastinates, but I think on some level, there are a lot of people, and I'd say most people procrastinate in some way, shape, or form at some point in their life. I don't think there's anybody that's immune from procrastination. That's my view on it. I haven't met anyone yet.
Right. And I think that we choose our things that we want to procrastinate about and call it we're prioritizing instead of procrastinating, doing some of those things. And sometimes procrastinating and prioritizing, I'm going to say the word really should be prioritizing and making sure that we don't procrastinate important things, but we do let the unimportant things go. I think that's more reasonable than some people say we should procrastinate things that are unimportant. But I think we should just let them go.
Right, and I like the way you put that into prioritization rather than, you know, viewing it as procrastinating. You know, when you're running a business, especially, you've got to really prioritize where your time is spent, because if you spend all of your time working on non-revenue producing activities, you're not going to be able to make the money that you want to in your business. So it is all about prioritization. And even when you're running a household, there are so many things that can maybe go to the wayside to a later date, or you can delegate those or hire it out so that you can focus on what's most important to keep your life running in a fine-tuned way, rather than letting stuff go that it still needs to be done, but maybe it's not your top priority. So finding a way to prioritize and delegate what is not in your best use of time.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That delegating is so important. And in every area, as a business owner or an employee, even if you are working towards the goal of what your boss wants you to do, then you need to be able to even delegate yourself the smaller things that I just really feel like the procrastination, things that we feel like we're putting off that we really need to do, it weighs us down and it piles up on our plate, and we just don't have the space to put the energy into what we really want to do to move us forward. That's why I was saying the procrastination list. If we just check off a few things here and there, then we have the ability to really focus. We don't have anything else hiding in our subconscious that's like, hey, you didn't pay attention to me. You didn't do me yet. And if we can delegate, oh my goodness. I'm going to share a story. I hope my mom doesn't get mad at this. Last time I shared a story about my mom, she didn't think it was as funny as I did. But it's so relevant. And I think we can all learn from this. My mom always wanted a clean house. So one year for Christmas, my dad hired a housekeeper, and my mom would go around the house to clean it because she didn't want to be embarrassed of how dirty the house was. So it was a really funny way to delegate to get us to focus and clean better. So we can talk more about how to delegate better after the break. You're listening to Tune In Radio. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, on Layers of Communication and the BBM Global Network. You can call in at 1-866-451-1451. We're talking with Annette Pieper today, business growth expert, and we will continue this conversation after the break. Welcome back to the BBM Global Network and Tune In Radio. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and this is Layers of Communication. You can call in at 1-866-451-1451. Today, we are talking with Annette Pieper about procrastination. And before the break, we're talking about delegating as a way to reduce that energy of, what is it called? The worry and the stress that procrastinating sets in our souls, that if we procrastinate, even if we say it's not important, if it's not done, it still is pulling us down. So Annette, how do you choose what to delegate? Is there a way to specify things that are more important that you should do and things that you could delegate?
Well, I think the first thing you've got to look at is, where is my energy best served? So as an example, I've had the Gombu the last couple of weeks, and I am someone that likes to do everything myself, especially at home. And so I've had to prioritize what is in my best interest to take care of and what can I delegate. And last week, I didn't delegate something. I ran to Costco to get some dog food because we were out, and I should have sent my son to do that because I was in a car accident, and I ended up lifting the dog food because I was impatient to wait for help, and it tweaked my back again. So, and so you've got to think about, okay, what's in my best interest? What's going to help me move forward with whatever I need to, whether that's healing from something, whether it's running your business, whether it's getting your home cleaned. So are there things that you can delegate out? So like I said, I think it's first looking at what is in my best interest to take care of. And there's so many things that we as mothers, I know, take care of when we should really be delegating it to our kids, because sometimes it's easier to do it rather than to try and get them to do it. And yet that drains us. It really pulls a lot of energy away from what we need to be focusing our time on. And delegation can be really hard for some people. Some people delegate everything that they can. And if you don't have good boundaries to say no, then you might end up doing everything for someone else. So you got to look at that side of delegation as well.
Oh, yes. And this is making me think of what I'm studying right now. I'm writing a book about manipulation. And sometimes procrastination can lead to us self-manipulating to serve and try and be there for everybody else, but we're not taking care of ourselves. We think that we're making it easier when we do everything for our kids, or at work, there's other things that could be delegated, but we want it to be perfect and we want it to be fast. And so we do it ourselves. And do you feel that perfectionism is linked with procrastination?
I think there's a huge link with perfectionism and procrastination, especially, and I think there's a higher link to delegation. Because when we are perfectionists, or, we know how we specifically want something done, it's really hard for us to delegate it out. And, if we have to stop and show someone how to do it, then it takes a little bit more of our time. But if we can stop and show someone how to do it the first time, then we can continue delegating those things out that aren't in our best interest. And I know as an entrepreneur, that's really hard to delegate things in my business and as well at home, because I've got to take time. I got to show people how to do what it is that I want done. But once you've shown them, you might have to, give them a little bit of encouragement or show them more than once. But once they get that down, then that's something that you get a release off your plate so that you can focus on something that's maybe more important for you to get done, that maybe you've been procrastinating on because you've been dealing with another issue that you could have delegated out.
Yes. And that time to train, it seems like it's going to last forever, but it's not really. It comes back to this idea of teach a man to fish instead of giving him a fish. Let them be self-sufficient and have that agency to choose how to do the dishes and put them in this way or that way. As long as they're getting clean, I was like the laundry. Oh my, let somebody do the laundry, teach them how. And I know for teachers, good teachers who are still sane at the end of the year, they take at least 2 weeks just going over what's expected in the classroom. When this happens, we line up at the door. When this happens, we do that, and the schedule and what's expected. They take 2 weeks to train them, so then they are able to teach them as a class what the material is. And, they slip in lessons here and there, but they're really focused on getting them to know and understand the schedule, what's expected, and how to meet those expectations as behavior, so that they're able to have a learning environment. And, that goes a lot to delegating and perfectionism. I had somebody comment. I wanted to share this with you and get your opinion. Donna says, I feel that when parents stopped taking time to train children in habits and began following factory efficiency experts, just assigning chores, we gained a society of procrastinators and killed work ethic. Children began to postpone doing work until they absolutely had to, and then did the least amount to appease. And of course, as our children grow up and we become adults, then it transfers to the workplace. And how do you feel about that, Annette? Do you think that this is a real key to stopping the procrastination, training the children?
I definitely think it is a very big part of it. We do our children a disservice when we do everything for them and we don't require them to step up to the plate and handle what they're supposed to. And then, yes, that does transfer into the workplace. And I don't know where that shift was, because that wasn't in my generation. You know, it's like you had to chore list, you got it done before you went out to play. So I'm not quite sure where that shift went, but I definitely think that is a disservice that we do to not only to our children, we do to our employees as well.
Yeah, so and we'll talk more about this after the break. You're listening to Tune In Radio and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and this is Layers of Communication. Today we're talking about the layer of procrastination with Annette Pieper. Welcome back to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. This is Tune In Radio and the BBM Global Network. You can call in and join our conversation today at 1-866-451-1451. Today we're visiting with Annette Pieper, business growth expert, and we're talking about procrastination. Just before the break, we were talking about how much of a disservice it is to try and do everything for everybody and not let them learn and do it for themselves. And when was this mind shift of just the general population that once it was expected that we did our jobs as kids, and now it's not? And so let's talk about mind shift. Annette, what is your favorite strategy to quickly shift your mindset? Because we do need to switch it up a bit and get out of this procrastination mindset.
Exactly. Well, I have something that I developed one day when I was stuck in my head, and I found myself ruminating about a same old issue and realizing how much it was draining me to continue going over this story over and over again in my head. So I created this strategy that I call miracle mode. And so literally what I do is when I catch myself in a non-productive thought stream, I just bring my hand right in front of my face, kind of like a stop sign, and I say miracle mode, and it's a state change. It changes your state right then, and then you can go, okay, what do I want to think about instead? What's a more productive thought stream for me to have? And you may have to do it over and over again, but it's just about finding something that changes your state in an instant. It can be slapping your hands together, snapping your fingers and saying, snap out of it. But it's got to be something that is like an immediate shift where you just stop your thought in its tracks. And then you can ask yourself a powerful question like, what is a more productive thing for me to think about? Or what do I want to see happen instead? Or how would I like to change the story so that I'm not going down this rabbit hole with this thought stream? And I have a ton of these little quick shifters like that, but miracle mode is one of my favorite ones because it's just quick. I can do it anywhere. Nobody really cares what I'm doing with my hand, right? I just flash it in front of my face and then ask myself a more powerful question.
I love that. I love the physical, bringing your body into it, because that takes us out of our mind and our procrastination and all this negative, draining stories. We're stuck in our head, like you said. If we do something physical with our body, then it's automatically, instantly out of our head, and we're using more of us and getting out of that. One of my favorites is I usually find myself in not really unproductive thoughts, but they lead that way. And it's more of a, oh no, people are coming to get me kind of thing. And that's not really, it's not scary per se, but it's like the evil forces are trying to stop me. And that's where I see my negative thoughts are like fighting against this unseen force, right? And so I clap my hands and say, Guardians posted. Thank you. And I imagine all surrounded by my guardians, and I think that it's all in our head. It's a head game, right? If we was in miracle mode, I'm getting into miracle mode now, and we can just put ourselves into a different state. I love that.
It is all just a mind game, and we have to be conscious when we're in some kind of a mind trap. So that's the first thing you've got to do, is set an intention to be mindful of when you are in that, because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole. But if you set that intention to be conscious of that, then it's so much easier to snap out of it before you get to the point where you've totally ruined your day, you're in a depressed mood, you're angry at the world, whatever, that wherever that thought stream is sending you, you can catch it more quickly and change that rapidly so that you have a more successful day. And who doesn't want a more successful day, right?
Absolutely. We all want more success in our day, every day. And setting intentions, I think sometimes, it's the beginning of the year and we're thinking about goals and what's our intention for the year. And when we get to the end of the year, so many people look back, and a lot of us don't even know what the goal was that we set. And maybe like in March, we find the previous year's list of goals that we had written down, and we're like, oh, yep, they're the same ones that I set 3 months ago in January this year. And how do we get these intentions to be conscious of our mindset? How do we get that to stick and be meaningful so that we can actually do something about it?
I think the first thing you need to do is write it down. There's something very powerful in the process of handwriting something. It's a kinesthetic activity which engages the unconscious and the conscious mind. And so I think by writing things down, writing down our goals, writing down our intentions, then that lodges it in our mind, so that then we are paying more attention to what's going on. If we just say to ourselves, I need to be more conscious of when I go down the rabbit hole, chances are it's just going to, that thought's just going to disappear. But there's power to writing. And I, in my book, Step Into Your Vision, I have a whole goal setting process that's all about writing your goals and painting that picture. And so even if it's just a small intention of, I want to be made aware of when I'm going down a non-productive thought stream, just writing that down and maybe having an affirmation every morning that, I catch myself when I'm in an unproductive thought stream, that can be very powerful.
Yes. And so tell us about your best strategy for beginning your day strong. We start with affirmations every day, right? What else do you include in your strategy for beginning your day strong?
Well, I always read positive, uplifting material. And I have 2 journals that I write in. I have a gratitude journal. And the first thing I do is write 5 things that I'm grateful for. And I do it in the morning. A lot of people like to do it in the evening. It really doesn't matter when you do it. But you've got to really stop and say, you know what, I'm grateful for things in my life. You've got to have that attitude of gratitude and appreciation. That really sets the tone for your day, because you're looking at, oh, wow, look at these amazing things that I have in my life. And sometimes it may be, like for me, sometimes maybe it's not the best day, and it's like I'm just grateful for a hot shower. I'm grateful for a cup of coffee, or, a hot pack, or I had a warm bed to sleep in. And sometimes it's more than that, something that's a little deeper. But I think by having that gratitude every morning, that sets the tone for your day. So if you had a bad night's sleep, you can still find 5 things to be grateful for every morning, rather than getting up on the wrong side of the bed and having that affect your entire day. So my gratitude journal is the first thing I write in. Then I write in my regular journal where I do a brain dump, get all of that clutter out of my head, maybe issues that happened the day before, or I didn't sleep well, or, whatever is on my mind, what I need to accomplish for the day. But I just dump it all in my journal so that it's not just rattling around there all day, and I can think straight and prioritize exactly what I need to do for the day.
Oh, I love that. And it's clutter. I love that you call it getting the clutter out of your mind instead of all the whatever else it could be called. We really do need that to be able to stop procrastinating. We'll talk more after the break. You're listening to Tune In Radio and the BBM Global Network. This is Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, and we are visiting with Annette Pieper today about procrastination. It's getting kind of late in the show, so I won't invite you to call in anymore, but you can find us at lydiataggart.com. If you want to connect, you can go there. Stay close. We'll be back. Welcome back to the BBM Global Network and Tune In Radio. I am your host, Lydia Taggart, and this is Layers of Communication. Today, we are visiting with Annette Pieper about procrastination. Now, I know from my personal experience and so many of my clients that when we procrastinate, it's like a doorway to go down this rabbit hole, like Annette has been talking about, going down the rabbit hole. And one of the things is when we procrastinate, we get embarrassed. We can be humiliated, like the story I shared earlier. We get angry. We have all these negative emotions come up. And then we procrastinate more. We want to shut down. We don't want to deal with that because it doesn't bring joy and happiness. And what we need to remember is that we are human, and humans procrastinate. It's not just you. It's not anything that is a bad thing. Procrastination is, if you notice that you're having a negative experience, it's there to show you where you need to focus your efforts. And I would love to hear more about Annette's perspective on this. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to shift out of procrastination and into action, Annette?
Well, procrastination is really when we're focused on short-term comfort versus long-term results. So if you think about athletes, so maybe you have the high school athlete that, they're on the basketball team and they maybe sit on the bench and it's, they love playing basketball and that's cool, but, their friends want them to go out and do this and do that, and so they do that. They go out with their friends. Maybe they're not playing as well the next day in their game. But then you compare that to an Olympic athlete. They have their mind set on that outcome, on the long-term results. They want to get that gold medal. So they're willing to push through whatever comes up for them in order to get that long-term result. So, their friends want them to go out and party or play, and it's like, I can't because I'm shooting for a gold medal. That's my outcome that I really want in my life. So they are willing to forego the short-term comfort to reach the long-term results. And so if you think about that just in your personal life, say you're procrastinating on balancing your checkbook. You know it needs to be done, but you're procrastinating on it. You've got to look at, okay, if I take the time to do this, what are the long-term results? Yeah, maybe I won't be playing on Facebook for, the next hour, but the long-term results is that I'm better able to manage my money. Or if you think about doing laundry, yeah, maybe you'd rather sit down and watch a movie, but then as you were talking about at the very first of the show, what's the results of that? Well, you have no clean clothes. So if you can really connect what the ultimate outcome is by pushing through that activity versus the short-term comfort, then it's easier for you to push through. That pile of mail that's sitting there is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's draining your energy. So how is that going to help you by going through that pile of mail, get you to what you really want to experience? in life. So really about looking what's the end goal of getting it done, and really focusing on that versus, I'd rather sit down and watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. I think that if we have the outcome in mind, then it changes everything. We talk about our point of view and our perspective. If we're stuck in a layer of comfort, we want to be comfortable, we want to have fun. We can have comfort and fun. I tell my kids and this all the time, more than I have to tell my clients, but my kids hear it so much. You can manage your time so that you can play and get the work done, right? If we did 10 minutes, we have 10-minute tidies or 2-minute tidies, even sometimes we say, it is 2 minutes, set the timer, go, go, go. And in 2 minutes, you can get so much more done than instead of compared to like, hey, did you do that? Hey, did you do that? How many times do I have to nag and say, hey, you didn't do that? Instead of just setting the timer saying, we are doing this for 2 minutes, ready, go. And so let's talk some more about, we're coming up on break. Annette, I was going to let you share where people can find you so that they can continue this conversation with you. Go ahead, Annette.
Well, I have a really great 4-week program that I would love to give your listeners, and it's a great way for them to connect with me and learn some more strategies that I have. And so they can go to www.bethemiraclenow.com to get that program, and then from there they'll have access to me to ask me any questions and stuff that they want.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Thank you for being with us, Annette. I hope you can come visit us again another time. We have so much more to talk about. I feel like we just barely started getting this conversation going, and I'd love to have you on again sometime in the future.
Well, thank you so much. I'd love to come back.
Thank you. And we're going to take that break now with BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart, for Layers of Communication. Stay close. Welcome back to Layers of Communication on the TuneIn Radio and BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. Today we were talking about procrastination with Annette Pieper. She shared some really amazing things with us today. The miracle mode, where you put your hand in front of your face like a stop sign. It changes your state. If you can do anything to change your state and get out of your head into the mode that you can make miracles, that is really an important key and is an instant if you're able to snap your fingers and say snap out of it, or anything that you can do to physically bring yourself out of your head. And the number one thing that she suggested, to write it down. Handwriting is one of those bringing you out of your head, and you can paint your picture. She has some really great tips on how to start your day strong. And when we're strong, then we're less likely to procrastinate. And she was so generous in offering a 4-week program for all of our listeners. I'll remind you where that is. It's at the www.bethemiraclenow.com, and you'll be able to contact her more through that. And of course, you all know you can find me at lydiataggart.com and get your frame training if you'd like that. Be able to communicate with people in ways that you get through all those layers and just take it one step deeper through the frame training. I want to share my favorite tool is the timer. And I know I've shared this a little bit before, but I give all of my clients a timer, not just one on the phone that can work. But if you have a timer and it's specifically set apart as a way to get out of your procrastination, and set that 2-minute timer, 5-minute timer, whatever you're going to do for just a few little minutes, and do something, whatever it is you're going to do. I know that I've seen clients get really big results with their weight loss and their fitness, setting the timer for 5 minutes of exercise instead of that overwhelming, I've got to do an hour every day. You don't have to do huge chunks. If you are consistent and you do something every day, even if it's only for 2 or 5 minutes, it makes results. And when we have it set apart, like this is your job, timer, that is the only job that you're going to do is keep me on time, then it's easier to say, to keep things in alignment. On my phone, I know I tend to just say, oh, the phone's ringing or making noise again. I'll get to that in a minute. But if it's the timer, then something triggers in my brain and says, this is important. And if we're consistent with communicating with each other, that creates unparalleled relationships that you just cannot even imagine how amazing your relationships are going to be when you give them a little bit of time every day. This week I had the best compliment given. I had a friend say, "You're melting my frozen heart." And you can have that too. You can melt other people's frozen hearts by a little bit of time. All right, next week, I hope you tune in again on Layers of Communication and the TuneIn Radio and the BBM Global Network. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. Find us at lydiataggart.com. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Tune in next week as we break through the layers in order to communicate and connect down to your core on Lydia Taggart's Layers of Communication.